Hey, welcome to the podcast. This is the Surge Effect, and this podcast, well, it'll probably have an effect on you. Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Surge Effect. Today's episode of the Surge Effect, we are going to be talking a little bit about Putin and Trump, of course, meeting in Alaska. I'm just going to play a couple of clips of that, and then I'm going to play a few clips of Doug Ford talking, praising Mark Carney. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Mark Carney as well in this episode. So a little bit of back and forth, and a couple little things at the end of the episode I just like to throw in just for honorable mentions kind of thing. So anyway, let's get into today's podcast. All right. So number one, if you didn't see it, haven't checked it out, or anything like that, I'll show you the video of Putin and Trump meeting, and then right after that, I'm going to show you of a little bit of the press conference that they had. Okay, short and sweet. Here we go. That, of course, was them shaking hands, and Trump just, of course, a stealth bomber and 4 fighter jets flying overhead. Peace through strength, right? That's what Trump always says, peace through strength. So here's a little bit of the press conference. I'm not going to play the whole thing. The whole thing was about 12 or 13 minutes. Just a little bit of it. Gives you a bit of an idea what transpired and a little bit of what Putin had to say about Trump.
To add one more thing, I'd like to remind you that in 2022, during the last contact with the previous administration, I tried to convince my previous American colleague that the situation should not be brought to the point of no return when it would come to hostilities, and I said it quite directly back then. That is a big mistake. Today, when President Trump is saying that if he was the president back then, there will be no war. And I'm quite sure that it would indeed be so. I can confirm that. I think that overall, me and President Trump have built a very good, business-like and trustworthy contact. And I have every reason to believe that moving down this path, we can come, and the sooner the better, to the end of the conflict in Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. That was very profound, and I will say that I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many, many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them. They're going to have to agree with what Marco and Steve and some of the great people from the Trump administration who've come here, Scott and John Radcliffe, thank you very much. But we have some of our really great leaders. They've been doing a phenomenal job. We also have some tremendous Russian business representatives here, and I think everybody wants to deal with us. We've become the hottest country anywhere in the world in a very short period of time, and we look forward to that. We look forward to dealing. We're going to try and get this over with. We really made some great progress today. I've always had a fantastic relationship with President Putin, with Vladimir. We had many tough meetings, good meetings. We were interfered with by the Russia hoax. That made it a little bit tougher to deal with, but he understood it. I think he's probably seen things like that during the course of his career. He's seen it all. But we had to put up with the Russia hoax. He knew it was a hoax, and I knew it was a hoax. But what was done was very criminal. But it made it harder for us to deal as a country in terms of the business and all of the things that we'd like to have dealt with. But we'll have a good.
Of course, and that went on for 4 years. And of course, now if you've been following the news, you will know now that it was more so of certain individuals, certain nasty players down the stage right now. That's going to all kind of unfold very shortly. Now, with Trump and Putin meeting, everyone always, always gives Trump stick over whatever, right? But I always like to look at results, and a lot of people should probably look at results. Kind of look through, Orange Man bad and all that stuff, and that's what everyone always thinks. But with Trump, what Trump has done during his term in 2017, 2021, he brokered several peace deals and normalized deals, primarily through the Abraham Accords and related agreements. Okay, these are the following things that Trump did, okay? He cut deals and peace deals with United Arab Emirates and Israel, with Bahrain and Israel, with Sudan and Israel, Morocco and Israel, Kosovo, economic normalization with Serbia and recognition of Israel. And during his second term in 2025, literally in the first, 7 months, he reached peace deals and ceasefire deals that have been brokered involving Armenia with Azerbaijan and Thailand and Cambodia, Israel and Iran, Israel and Iran, Rwanda, and the Republic of Congo. These things have been going on for decades. Keep in mind, decades these people have been fighting genocide, losing tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people have lost their lives. And where's all the artistic journalists coming forward talking about what's going on here and what he has created and what he has done to save lives? India, Pakistan, of course, is another one. And what did Obama, what did he do to get a Nobel Peace Prize? Yeah, he talked to communities about the de-weaponization of nuclear weapons and stuff. That's what he was pushing for. Within 9 months, they gave him the Nobel Peace Prize. I just read you what Trump just did. And he did that in the last term. Plus, he just did about 6 or 8 countries just in this term, in less than 9 months. And that transpired. It's crazy, right? Anyway, he's trying to get peace in the Ukraine and Russia. Now, I don't know what your feelings are with Zelensky and what Zelensky's all about. I have my feelings. I'm sure you have yours. Leave them in the comments below. Let me know. But I'm going to play you a little video clip here of people that are high up positions. Now, there's no music to it, and I can't read all the people that are involved because it's too fast. So if you want to check it out, if you're listening to this on Spotify or one of the apps that you're listening to my podcast through on the audio, you might have to go to my YouTube channel and just check this out. But these are houses that belong to high-ups in the Ukrainian government and people that are in the legal system, should I say, in the Ukrainian government. So you'll just have to, like I said, check it out on YouTube and move forward. So here we go. Follow the money, folks. Follow the money. Here we are. These are all like super, super expensive homes. These are multi-million-dollar mansions, some of these places, these Supreme Council of Justice, Department of the Interior, and district prosecutors, and Kiev District Court, people. It's unbelievable, the number of these homes. It's about a minute long. So it says, what is corruption, of course, and it says their names and these houses that these people live in Ukraine. It is insane, the size of some of these places. So, like I said, follow the money, right? Follow the money. Anyway, that's, like I said, that's about a minute clip on that one. And now we're going to move forward to what Doug Ford just had to say in regards to Trump and Carney. So here, let's have a listen what Doug had to say.
Donald Trump is so unpredictable. I don't even know if he knows what he's doing tomorrow morning. So let's start focusing on creating that environment.
But is there an acceptance? Is there an acceptance, I guess, from leaders that we'll just have the tariffs?
Again, the Prime Minister will speak on that, but the President is unpredictable. He'll come out with some cockamamie thing tomorrow that we don't even know about.
So
right?
do you think that Mark Carney is being too elbows down in response to that unpredictability?
Not at all. He's doing an incredible job. He's working collaboratively with 12 other premiers and myself, and working as Team Canada. And he's doing a very, very good job, in my opinion. Put in his position, dealing with Donald Trump. Let's stop worrying about Donald Trump. We'll start focusing on Ontario and Canada and all the other provinces and territories.
That's from Rebel News, of course. What has Doug Ford done for Ontario as our premier? What has he done? Has he lowered our taxes? Has he put more money in our pockets? Has he lowered the price of groceries? Here he is praising Carney for all the stuff that Carney has done and all the things that Carney has accomplished. Well, I'm here to tell you, the stuff that he has accomplished is, so far, not impressed. I am not impressed in the slightest. Because if you look at his track record, if you will, I'm going to read some of the things that Carney hasn't accomplished and what he's lost with the states, okay? And I'm just going to read off a few of them. There's 18 in total, 18, but I'm just going to read a few of them. You lost like dairy market access, auto rules. These are things that he's lost for Canada. Intellectual property extensions, non-market economy clauses, failure to prevent initial 25% tariff. We're up to 35% tariffs now because of the back and forth and him not wanting to negotiate. What's some of the more? Pause on retaliatory tariffs, scrapping a digital services tax. These are one of the things that Trump obviously wanted him to do, and he did it, because if not, there wouldn't be any negotiations. So the farther down the list you go, basically, like I said, 18 different things that was happened because they stalled early progress, trade agreements with India. Another thing they did, these are different countries, things that they lost to China. China just slapped a 70% canola tariff on Canada. Meanwhile, we just gave them like billions of dollars worth of a contract for ferries in BC. Like, what are these people in charge doing? Like, I don't know what your thoughts are, but leave your comments below. Like I said, in total, these are 18 things lost, with the majority of these things were tied up in the U.S. negotiations under Trump. That's the great negotiations of Carney, and this is the guy that Doug Ford, our Premier of Ontario, was praising. I think he's doing a great job. These politicians are brutal, man. Brutal. So let's hear what Pierre Poilievre has to say in regards to this.
Well, we can start with the good news. It's been a great crop in Provost, Alberta, and right across much of the prairies. The bad news, unfortunately, is that the Chinese government has hit us with another round of tariffs, this time 75%.
75%.
On Canadian canola seed. That's on top of the 100% tariffs on Canadian canola oil and meal and peas, plus a 25% tariff on seafood, on pork, and other Canadian producers have been targeted. It's another kick to Canada, as the world just seems to be thinking that it can walk all over the Canadian economy under the weak leadership of this Liberal government. To add insult to injury, Mark Carney seems determined to go ahead giving a taxpayer-funded $1 billion loan to Beijing and to Chinese shipmakers to make ferries for British Columbia. That's right, the Canadian government is backing a $1 billion loan that will go to the construction of ferries for British Columbia that are made in China. So imagine the lesson that this sends to the government in Beijing, that if they attack our farmers, they get $1 billion of credit from our government. But, you know, it stacks up yet another loss that we're facing that is painful for our workers, our farmers, our businesses, since Carney was elected, on the promise, by the way, that he would be a master negotiator that would negotiate wins for Canada. He said he could handle Donald Trump. Remember that one? Well, what's been the result since? 1, Carney's missed 2 of his promised deadlines to get a deal with the Americans. Under that period of time, the president has actually doubled tariffs on Canada while the Prime Minister continues to back down, making concession after concession on digital services tax, on counter tariffs, getting absolutely nothing in return. Sounds like elbows down to me. The Americans, meanwhile, are signing trade deals with Japan and Europe. They've given extensions to China and Mexico, no such extension to Canada. And speaking of other markets, well, what's happening around the world? Liberal ministers went down to Mexico, groveling for a bilateral deal. The Mexicans sent them packing. Prime Minister went and did some photo ops in Europe. But while President Trump has signed a deal with the Europeans to sell $750 billion of American energy to the European Union, the EU has promised to buy exactly 0 Canadian dollars worth of Canadian energy from our oil and gas, which is actually could be even more competitive if we had a government that would be opening up markets and allowing pipelines to get it there. In other words, Carney is losing, and the more he loses abroad, the more Canadian farmers, workers, and businesses pay here at home. But it doesn't have to be this way. Conservatives are going back to Parliament in the fall.
Exactly. Now, that's a lot to unpack, what Pierre Poilievre just put forward there. There's a lot to unpack. But I'm sure if you've been paying attention, you know exactly what he's talking about. The media do not cover a portion of this stuff. The stuff that a lot of the podcasters that I watch and I listen to myself, and the stuff that I find myself when I put my podcast together, it's not covered by the media. It's really not, and it's really, really hard for you to find. But what Pierre Poilievre was just talking about, China and their tariffs. There it is right there. Now China seeks to reopen Australia canola trade as Canada ties sour. They just put a 70% tariff, China, on Canada for our canola. And here now they're trying to, seek a trade deal with Australia. What the hell's happening? What the hell's happening to Canada? Like, it's unbelievable. And today, of course, is the by-election in Battle River Crowfoot for Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre, and I'm just going to play a little clip here for you, give you an understanding.
It's an important day for Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, who is hoping to win back a seat in the House of Commons. His name is on the ballot in a by-election for Battle River Crowfoot, a sprawling eastern Alberta riding that stretches from Edmonton to Calgary. But his name, not the only one. 213 other candidates are vying for a seat. Now, the majority of the names are on as a protest, calling for electoral change. Political scientists say Poilievre is expected to win. The question is by how much? Every election from 2004 to 2025 has seen Conservative Party candidates win the riding within at least 80% of the vote.
Isn't that something? 213 people. 213 people. This is the ballot that was in Carleton. Like, what are these Canadians doing? Going against the grain here and trying to go against Poilievre. Poilievre is trying to do what's right and do what's right for Canadians. He has Canadians' backs. He is not like your typical politician where other people would lead you believe he is. Carney sold you a bill of goods and you bought it, hook, line, and sinker. End of story on that one. But what they got to do now in Battle River Crowfoot is take a piece of paper and write down Pierre Poilievre's name now, because there's 213. They can't. And Elections Canada came forward and said, "Listen, you're not just going to, surf down 213 names and might put your check mark. Now you got to put a name on," and that's today. So we should hopefully find out later today in regards to who wins. But Pierre Poilievre, he should be a shoo-in at Battle River Crowfoot for sure, because you know what? It is PC country, but Pierre Poilievre is the man for that job. All right. Now, let's go back to Mark Carney here. And what Mark Carney said there a while back in regards to Muslims and what and Muslims Canadians have in common. Here we go.
All of us come together. All of us must come together around the values of Eid, the values of community, of generosity, and yes, of sacrifice. These are Muslim values. These are Canadian values.
I don't know where he kind of gets his ideas from, but that's a typical politician right there, that cat right there. Saying stupid shit is just insane to me. It's just crazy. Here's a person here talking about Canada. She lives in Canada. Listen to her.
And Canada is a white supremacist, colonial, racist project, as is Israel, as is the state of Israel. So I don't even consider myself to be a Canadian because this is indigenous land and this land is occupied. So the people who are here, whether they are settlers, we firstly need to educate ourselves about what has happened on this land and what is continuously happening in order for us to be able to understand what our government or this government is doing on abroad and on overseas.
That's just one person of many. If you've been paying attention, you'll understand what's going on in the news. 100%. All right, Tad, to that. This is a big monument statue that was built in, I believe, Brampton, right here in Ontario. This big statue was put up. Like I said, if you listen to me on the podcast, you'll have to go to the video from my YouTube to check it out. But here is another angle of that again. And there's the temple that's built beside it. And this is in Brampton, I believe, Ontario. Canada. What are your thoughts on that? Let me know in the below section. Let me know what you think. All right, so to shut off the podcast for today, one last thing. This guy here, in case you don't know him, his name's Larry Fink. He's World Economic Forum, has named BlackRock, the head of BlackRock, Larry Fink, as its new chairman. Now, you may not know who this guy is. Well, I suggest you go look up BlackRock. Find out who BlackRock is. Look up Larry Fink. Find out who Larry Fink is. Educate yourself about these people. Because these people are in control of so much wealth and so much what happens in this world. It is incredible. You have no idea. But you fall down the rabbit hole and you start learning about stuff. And you start picking up on what's going on in this world. All right? Anyway, that's today's podcast. It was short and sweet. I haven't had one in a couple of weeks. I've been super, super busy with all kinds of stuff. But I always try to work in a podcast every once in a while. I'm going to try to hopefully get out at least one or maybe two more a week if I can. Keep on top of this huge news cycle that's going on in the States and in Canada. So much going on. I say good luck to Pierre Poilievre today. And he's our man for sure. All right. With that being said, like I said, thank you very much for subscribing. Thanks for sharing my videos. Thanks for liking my videos. And please comment below. Let me know what you think of what you heard. Maybe the stuff you haven't heard before. Until next podcast, everyone, I always like to say that life is tough. And everyone is going through something. But what you got to do is you got to keep moving forward. There's nothing waiting for you back there. Yesterday is history, and tomorrow's a mystery, and today is the present. That's why they call the present a gift. So, until next podcast, everyone. Cheers.